Hi, welcome to today's vlog. It feels really good to be doing 2 days concurrently with the vlog. It's just kind of sometimes quite a bit of work. I'm going to come to these reads in a second. I haven't opened the box, so you guys get more of my accurate response to these. This is going to be my last video. I'm going to move you around there. This is going to be my last video on synthetic reeds, no matter what, today. But I was just watching. You guys probably can't see that. Pete McKinnon, who's one of my favourite YouTubers, he often does what he calls the PM challenge, which is where he gets people who watch his challenge to post photographs. I took part in it in autumn on Instagram, and I was kind of thinking, would you guys be up for doing a blues challenge where you guys post a short video either on Instagram, or we do it on YouTube or Twitter or something else like that. I'll put a hashtag together. I'd love to hear you guys playing. But it's kind of a bit harder, isn't it, than taking photos? Often with photos you can kind of take hundreds of photographs and you can kind of put that one or two up there. But a lot of you are like I am with photography. You do it out of fun. It's a hobby, play music. I'd really like to hear what you guys are playing and maybe able to offer some feedback and stuff on playing. Basically, just put a comment in the box below if you'd be up for like a Dan Spring challenge. Maybe we'll do a blues or we'll do a particular tune. The difficulty with doing a particular tune is I don't want you guys to get in trouble with copyright and things like that. Just kind of putting a blues backing track together and saying, go ahead, go and write me a blues or improvise over a blues in a minute. It's not particularly too hard to do, and there's so many different ones you can do. Do it a lot with my students, but I'd love to open it up wider. So let me know. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel so you know if we go ahead with it. But post your comments below. We're going to do Q&A in a little bit, but I need to open this, which means I need to find my Stanley knife. Ooh, got here some tenor sax reeds, some alto reeds, and some soprano reeds. Let's try the tenors. Ooh. That is a Legere tenor sax signature 2 1/4. That is the best Legere reed I have played. It's very responsive. Clearly Legere, you need to sort your reed strength chart out, because I think probably the biggest problem is the reeds I had were too hard before. That is the best synthetic reed I've played ever. It's a bit bright, personal preference for me, but so much happier than what I was with the other ones. Let's try a slightly harder reed. Harder, Probably slightly too hard for me, which is why the 2 1/4 seems to work, but definitely thank you, Legere, for clearing up on me. That's good customer service, because these reeds are so much better than the other reeds I got. Let's try the soprano ones. Good reeds. The difficulty I've got comparing them is, as many of you know, I don't play soprano sax reeds on my soprano these days. I play clarinet reeds, and definitely clarinet reeds give a more centered sound on the soprano. These just feel a little bit too bright. I'm going to go up a strength. Never know if on synthetic reeds you need to go through the rigmarole of moistening them up. I guess they're probably similar. Maybe some of you will tell me. Seem to have a lot more control there for classical pieces. Seem less prone to squeaking or anything. Not totally sold on the soprano reeds yet, but then I'm not sold on anybody's soprano reeds, so that's maybe not a surprise. But I really ought to go and get some lunch. 2, 3, 4. Those major bebop scales are a real pain in the... I'm convinced it's because you're altering the dominant note of a scale, and your fingers just... my fingers anyway just want to constantly override my brain. My brain's saying, you need to be playing that sharp 5, and my fingers are going, no, don't play the sharp 5. All sorts of arguments between. Anyway, let's roll that Q&A. Just a quick couple of Q&As today. The first one is a tweet sent from Anthony. It's been a while ago he sent this, Anthony. I think he sent it before Christmas. Apologies for the lateness of the reply. He says, hi Dan, I'm an intermediate player playing for 2 years, play classical and jazz. I found a very good website recommended by an acquaintance. It's run by a tech, so he sets up the saxes before he sends them. I'm planning on buying a Boucher TT. Is this the right move? Good question, Anthony. My initial reaction is what I always say to beginners, which is avoid vintage horns at the start, because they're not always that easy to play in tune, whereas a lot of the modern horns are. But if you've fallen in love with a vintage horn, go for a vintage horn, if that makes sense. I'm not necessarily contradicting myself there. I just feel it's a bit of a minefield out there, and you're taking a chance. If you don't want to take a chance, if you want to play conservative, go for Yanagasawa, Yamaha, Selmer. Stick to those 3. You won't go wrong. You'll be very, very unlucky to end up with a bad horn from those 3, but if you want to take a chance and go with a vintage horn, it's well worth the effort. You know, I play a vintage Mark 6, so, but you're taking a risk, and you have to really know the tech is setting it up, and maybe ask or request some kind of like trial period that you can take the horn back if you don't like it. Next question comes from Gabriel, and he said that he's kind of trying to balance out A-levels and going off to music college because he's got a place, which is fantastic. Great news, Gabriel, well done. I had this conversation with a friend of mine whose daughter is in quite a very well, exceptionally good youth orchestra in this country, and he said she got back from this tour yesterday and has spent 3 hours practicing her violin, well, viola, and kind of hasn't done any homework, you know, and needs to get other A levels as well. And I kind of get it, because I was in that position in upper 6, and I kind of screwed my A level results up because of that. So I definitely say to you, Gabriel, and everybody else, keep working at your other A-levels. Make sure that there are subjects that you enjoy. Make sure you've got good A-level results on paper, because you never know when you might need to go back to it. You might enter a position in your life where being a musician isn't a viable career option anymore. You might decide you don't want to do it anymore. You might fall out of love with it. You might end up with an injury worse than I got with my finger. And I'm going to say this straight out, you're going to need other skills, unless you're absolutely exceptional, which you might be, I would definitely suggest keep working hard at your other A levels. You're never going to know when you're going to need them. And it's always useful to have other strings to your bow, no pun intended. It's useful. You know, you never know what's going to come up. I mean, the concept, as I've said before in other vlogs, the concept of what I am doing right now when I was in your position was just totally you know, you could not have believed it. I could not have believed that today I'm teaching people hundreds of miles away from me via Skype, that I've got... Yeah, just the whole thing. You don't know what's coming up next. So make sure, and this goes for everyone, make sure you're skilled up in the things that you enjoy doing, and definitely work hard at them and keep practicing hard. As for what to practice as you come up for that, there's that's definitely another vlog subject. But make sure you're on top of all the usual things, all your scales, your modes, maybe your major bebops, unlike me today, that just don't seem to want to happen. Make sure you're on top of all those basics, because it's laying those foundations which is going to enable you to really reach your potential. Finally, Continentalist raised a good point from my vlog with Richard from Daddario up here when we were talking about, Richard was saying, don't break the reeds in, literally don't leave them for half an hour in water, which I know I've done in the past. I've certainly, since I got rid of the Rejuvenate, I've gone back to just kind of like, as you saw, kind of five minutes max in a just plain water, licking them either side. And now with these, go back to the Rico humidity cases, I'm finding they're not as moist. I was mentioning to one of my students this morning, my Rejuvenate, I hadn't touched my alto for about 10 days from before Christmas. I'd done a bit of practice on tenor and soprano. Got my alto reeds, of which I had 2 fantastic alto reeds, and they were covered in mould. So whilst the Rejuvenate is a great idea in principle, I don't think it's really getting the humidity right. And certainly if reeds go mouldy and horrible on them, a few years ago, I don't know whether I've mentioned this, I don't think it was the reeds. I've been told by a medical professional it probably wasn't. But I basically had a reed that had a bit of mould on it. I just kind of washed it, used it. A few days later, I went down ill with pneumonia. I ended up in hospital having chest x-rays, and it's left me with asthma. I mentioned about the asthma in this vlog. So I'm really, really wary, almost overly conscious about what I'm doing and which reeds I put in my mouth. Let me know if you think that challenge is a good idea for Instagram. Just 1 minute video of playing a blues, and then we'll go through a different standard each month, and I'll create a hashtag or something. Just leave me some comments. We'll see what we can do. I'll be back in a couple of days' time. I'm going to show you those Yamaha videos that I shot before Christmas in sax.co.uk, so you can compare the Atlia, Italia, I still can't get the name right. The standard custom and a Yanagisawa as well. I played all 3. I'm also hoping to bring you a mouthpiece challenge along the lines of what some people have done with smartphones, with the cameras, where it's kind of just a blindfold test. You don't know which mouthpieces have been played. That means I need to get, I reckon, in the region of about 15 mouthpieces in here. So I'm going to work on that for you in 2019. We'll get that together, and we'll see if we can kind of vote through and just kind of work out which mouthpieces really open up for people. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you don't already. This was my last vlog. Make sure you watch this one if you haven't already. I'll see you really soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.